Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a big one, Arundhati Roy's incredible novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. Now, this book is massive, it's sprawling, but don't worry, we're going to get right to its heart, to what it's really all about. So let's start with this quote right here. He decided to create something, a creature that could not be happy, so he created us. Wow. I mean, that line from one of the characters, it just hits you, right? It perfectly captures the spirit of this novel. It's really a story about finding, some kind of joy, some kind of belonging in the most broken places with the most broken people. All right, section 1, a place for the broken. So just so you know, we're not going to do a boring plot summary here. No, we're going straight to the soul of this book. We're going to explore its biggest idea. What does it mean to search for a home, for a place to belong, when the world around you, and maybe even you yourself, feels completely fractured? Okay, so here's how the story is set up. It's basically built around two completely separate worlds with two main characters whose paths are just meant to cross. On one side, you've got the chaotic but vibrant world of outcasts in Old Delhi. And on the complete other side of the spectrum, you have the heavy, grief-stricken, militarized world of Kashmir. So let's start our journey in those crowded lanes of Old Delhi. So here we go, part 2, Anjum's world in Old Delhi. We're diving right into the heart of the city, into a community that was literally built by and for people who just don't fit in anywhere else. And it's a world filled with so much pain, for sure, but also this incredible radical sense of acceptance. And at the center of this world is Anjum. Anjum is our first protagonist. She was actually born Aftab, a boy who is intersex. But from a very young age, she knew deep down that her true self was a woman. She's part of the Hijra community, which is, as you can see, a kind of third gender with a really long and complex history in South Asia. Anjum's life is this incredible, profound journey of becoming who she was meant to be. It starts in a loving family. They're confused, but they love her. Then it leads her to find a new family in the Hijra community. But that new life is shattered by a really traumatic, violent event. And it's this trauma that forces her to leave and build something completely new from scratch, a sanctuary that is all her own. So that first found family, that community, is called the Khwabga. It's Anjum's first real home. The name itself means House of Dreams, which is beautiful, right? It's seen as this place where spirits that were trapped in the wrong bodies can finally be free. But here's the thing, and this is what's so interesting. It's not some perfect utopia. It's a sanctuary, yes, but it has its own really strict hierarchies and rules you have to follow to survive. Okay, let's switch gears completely. We're leaving the cramped, colorful lanes of Old Delhi, and we're heading to a world that could not be more different. We're going to the mountains and valleys of Kashmir, a place that's been defined for decades by just brutal conflict. And this is where we meet our second main character, S. Tilottama. Everyone calls her Tilo. Now, Tilo is an architect by trade, but she's really an artist at heart. And her life, oh man, her life is completely tangled up with three men she's known since college, and even more so with the violent, seemingly unending struggle for Kashmir's freedom. And this is one of the most powerful things the book does. It shows you how violence just becomes normal. It gives us this chilling alphabet of conflict. These are terms that have become part of everyday language in Kashmir. Think about that. Words like encounter, disappeared, half-widow, these aren't just words. They paint this incredibly vivid, heartbreaking picture of what it's like to live under the constant shadow of occupation. So this really brings us to the book's central question. In a country that's so fractured, where do the broken people go? Right? You've got Anjum, who's been broken by social prejudice and violence. And you've got Tilo, who's haunted by the ghosts of a political war. They're both basically exiles in their own country. And you just know. You can feel the story pushing these two separate worlds closer and closer towards this massive, inevitable collision. Part 4, Where All Worlds Meet. And this is it. The two stories finally start to weave together. And it happens in a place that is just so fitting. A protest site. A place where all of India's forgotten people, the dispossessed, They all come together to demand that they finally be seen and heard. This all goes down at Jantar Mantar in New Delhi. It's actually a real place, an old observatory that's now a famous spot for protests. So you have Anjum, who's there with her friends, really just out of curiosity. And then there's Tilo, who's drawn there because of her own complicated ties to activism. The whole place is like a mini version of all the unrest happening across the entire country. And then, right in the middle of all the chaos, the political slogans, the media circus, something happens. A baby is found, just left on the pavement. And this one tiny abandoned life, it becomes like a magnet. It's the gravitational center that pulls all of these scattered people from all these different worlds into the same orbit. And that brings us to our final section, the Ministry of Happiness. Now, the resolution to this whole epic story, it's not what you'd expect. It's not some big political victory or a grand revolution. Nope. It's something much, much smaller and honestly much more radical. It's the creation of a brand new kind of family. And this is what Anjum builds. After she leaves the Khwabgah, she actually moves into a city graveyard. And there, slowly but surely, and totally illegally, she builds the Jannat Guest House, which means the Paradise Guest House. And she builds it right there, among the graves of her own ancestors. It's this incredible paradox, a home for the living built right in the middle of the city of the dead. So this Jannat Guest House becomes a sanctuary for pretty much all the broken people we've met along the way. You have Anjum, she's the matriarch. Tilla finds a home there with that abandoned baby they decide to adopt. They're joined by a guy named Saddam Hussein, and yes, he renamed himself after the dictator, and just a whole collection of other outcasts, animals, even ghosts. This isn't a family defined by blood, not at all. It's a family defined by shared damage and this deep, profound need to care for one another. Now remember the Khwabgah, Anjum's old home? Well, the matriarch there, Ustad Kulsum Bey, had a very specific philosophy. She believed that for people like them, for outcasts, survival depended on discipline, on having strict rules. She basically argued that the only way to be safe was to blend in and maintain order. But Anjum, having lived through a massacre, she just completely rejects that whole idea. She looks at it and says, what rules? What's the point? She knows, from brutal experience, that no amount of following the rules is going to protect you from a world that has already decided it wants you gone. So her response? She builds a home based on the exact opposite idea, a place with no rules, only total, boundless acceptance. And this, right here, is the soul of the book. The title, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. It's not some government office. It's this place. The Jannat Guest House is the real ministry. And what it suggests is that maybe true happiness isn't about being perfect or fixing everything that's broken about you. Maybe it's about creating a space where every single one of your broken pieces is welcome, where they can finally find a home. So in the end, the novel really just leaves us with this one big question. In a world that is so obsessed with building walls between countries, between religions, between genders, between people, how on earth do we build a home? How do we find a place to belong? And the answer the book seems to give us is, well, maybe we just have to build it for each other, right there in the graveyards of the old world, with whoever happens to show up.